very interesting to see what the 49ers do this offseason with Brock Purdy. They also, there was reports that they were going to negotiate and start have contract talks about Brock Purdy's extension. We're going to be looking into what spot track and a lot of people project him to get, which is insane if it is true, as well as what he's making. We're going to be talking about this season and what I fear moving forward if he does get that said contract, again, as projected. So we're going to be looking at 2024 stats and the team's success and what they had. It was a step back. It was a down season, not all on Brock Purdy, but it was a down season for them. They missed the playoffs. Very injury-riddled, inconsistencies, and so forth. If you look at least for the wild card, they were 6-11, not even close. You look at least for the division, they ended last. They were dead last in their conference, or sorry, division, I should say, for the NFC West, 6-11, as opposed to Arizona, who was 8-9, Seattle, who was 10-7, and then the Rams, that were also 10-7. Again, not all on Brock Purdy, but when we're talking about contracts and focusing on just this guy, it is a little bit worrisome with this. So in 15 games, he had a 65.9 completion percentage, over almost 3,900 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, was sacked 31 times. Passer rating was 96.1, QBR was 67.9. So all across the board, really, it was down. Completion percentage, I'm not complaining. 65.9 is still really good. I'm not going to say that's horrible. He took a step back from 69 to 65. That's not a huge drop off. Passing yards, but again, outside of that, it's down all across the board. Passing yards is down. He has 11 less touchdowns and 1 more interception. He has 3 more sacks. The passer rating is down. The QBR is down. Again, very worrisome. And I think this 2024 is a glimpse of what's going to happen if you pay Brock Purdy. And this issue is not just solely on Brock Purdy and San Francisco 49ers. It's been like this for the last few years with teams overpaying for quarterbacks. We've seen a lot of good quarterbacks get paid top-end money. Or at least we've seen bad quarterbacks get paid just good money. Daniel Jones is one. I think right now you can really say Trevor Lawrence is a bad contract. I get it because you want to secure him. It's the going rate. I haven't really seen flash. I really haven't seen overall flashes I've seen, but consistently and overall his body of work is justified making $55 million a year. I don't see that. I'm sorry. You have Tua when he plays, does pretty well, but you have the injury factor, and again, we talk about just the fall off in terms of late of the season against playoff teams and how they've been the last couple of seasons. It's worrisome with that. Most of the injuries as well, because of just the constant concussions this guy takes. It's scary, but unfortunately they gave him the money. He had one healthy season the year before, and now we're in this predicament with his health and his future. So you have that. And you just go on the list. Dak Prescott was widely overpaid. He's now worth $60 million, even though he had an MVP season. I will admit that he had a great season, regardless if you want to say about the type of teams he faced, but he had a great season last year. But even then, not worth $60 million, and you're seeing that. And you'll see the cap hit he has this year. I think it's like $89 million. Insane. What the Cowboys have to deal with Dak Prescott, but they did it themselves. They gave it to him. And this is why I worry about San Francisco in this predicament, is that it's going to follow the same suit. I don't think this is going to be a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, like Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, like Joe Burrow, where you pay these guys this type of money, and they still perform well, and they can still carry teams. So we look at Brock Purdy's contract going all the way back to the beginning of his career in 2022. It is insane that the type of money he was getting paid and how much of a success he was. He was getting paid $724,000 his rookie season, $889,000 in their Super Bowl run, and just over $1 million this past season. This is the ultimate jackpot that any team would love, where they have a guy who plays well and getting paid peanuts, like nothing, pennies on the dollar compared to other quarterbacks, and being able to stack a team around them with all-star talent, big contracts left and right. At some point, unfortunately, it's going to end. Even with him making 5.2, it's still an absolute steal for him. This is what I worry about moving forward with San Francisco. Per Spot Trek, they project him to make $59.7 million a year. Essentially $60 million, essentially getting paid like Dak Prescott. That is a big issue I have for the San Francisco 49ers. And like I said, what you've seen of players being in and out of the lineup, that's going to be more reality than just an outlier this season, because you're not going to be able to keep everyone there. There's already talks about getting rid of Deebo Samuel. We don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. Even though he did sign a contract, he's there for long term, but you're scared because of the inconsistencies with thus far early into the season. You have Christian McCaffrey making a lot of money. You have George Kittle's going to come out for a contract. You have Trent Williams, who's making a lot of money, who's at basically the end of his career. You have Fred Warner that's going to come out for a big contract. You have Nick Bosa making big money. I mean, you just go down the list, and there's so many big names on the team, and it's great, but financially it's not easy. It's not sustainable. You only have that for a glimpse, it feels like. It goes by so fast, like 2, 3, 4 years, but it goes by in an instant. And next thing you know, you're sitting here and the team is falling apart because of the financial situation. If you pay Brock Purdy this money, it's going to be far worse than that. What he needs to do is take the Tom Brady route, and that's not just exclusive to Brock Purdy. It's everyone, if they want to have this. The Tom Brady route of taking far less than what the market average is. I'm sorry, Brock Purdy, if you want success, you cannot take $60 million. You got to pick one. Can you be a little bit, balance it a little where you get paid a good amount and still have a good amount of success? You should. Yeah, you can. But you can't have this extreme. If you want Super Bowls, you can't take $60 million a year. If you want $60 million a year, don't be expecting Super Bowls. I mean, it goes hand in hand. You cannot expect to have success when you're paying a quarterback this type of money. Even though the salary cap keeps going up every year, it's not sustainable. And Brock Purdy, to me, is not worth that money. He's a good quarterback, no question about that, and give him credit where credit's due, even though he's had a ton of talent around him and a lot of help getting to this point. He still has to make those plays. He still has to make the right decisions, the right reads, and so forth to put his team in position to win and to advance. So give Brock Purdy credit that. I worry that 2024 is going to be the reality of what Brock Purdy is and moving forward, of having seasons like this. He's good, but he's not going to be great. He can give you great games, great performances, great flashes, but he's not going to be up there with those guys. Like I said, for Joe Burrow, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and so forth. Even people are up and coming, like Jaden Daniels. And I still want to put C.J. Stroud in there, even though he had a down season. I still think C.J. Stroud is still one of the better, if not the best, up and coming quarterback still. If you want to put aside Jaden Daniels, of course, being up there, but that's what I worry about. That when you start looking at other quarterbacks and you start comparing to Brock Purdy, truly, how far down do you have to go the list before you get to Brock Purdy? I feel like you have to go to a decent amount before you hit him. And for the stats, again, I worry about this. These are good stats, and again, he played well at times, given the circumstances with injuries and so forth, but I just don't believe that you're going to get the first 2 years of Brock Purdy. Could he give you this a 2023 season statistically? Maybe. But in terms of success moving forward, of if you're thinking about, hey, we can be contending for the championship every single year, at least making it out of the NFC every single year, we have that roster. I just don't see that. I'm sorry. Like, that's what it comes down to. You're going to be losing players because of age, unfortunately, with some of them getting up there in their late 20s and 30s, some of them being in their late 30s. But contract-wise, if you want to keep this going and be in position to contend every single year and make it out of the NFC, you have to take far less than what this is projecting. I don't know what Brock Purdy is asking for, if it's just for his agent or people are just assuming that this is. I don't know what the official number is, nor do any of us know what the legitimate answer is from Brock Purdy out of his mouth. What does he want? But if the only thing we can go off of is, again, just the projections and what we assume he's going to get, if this is it, as 49ers fans, do not expect long-term success. And especially for Brock Purdy, do not expect him to be the Brock Purdy early on. I think this season kind of showed you that. And I've seen some 49ers start to slowly turn on Brock Purdy at times with some of the losses. People are saying he just doesn't have the arm. He's just not the guy. He's not it. And I don't want to sit here and say he's a horrible quarterback. He's trash. He's this. He's a good quarterback. But he is not worth $60 million. Nor is the vast majority of quarterbacks out there. And it's just the trend I feel like the 49ers are going to be falling into is just good quarterbacks getting paid top dollar money. If I was them, I would have Brock Purdy play out his final year of his deal. Do you run the risk of him having a great season like 2023 and that price tag jumping even higher than 59.7 being in the low to mid 60 million. I know it sounds crazy to say, but the market is constantly going out of control every year, I feel like, with the contract. So I don't think it's far-fetched to say. Yeah, you do run the risk of potentially paying more than what you want to already. But at the same time, if Brock Purdy has another season like this in 2024, where it's not amazing stats and you also aren't competing and you are a 6, 7, 8 win team missing the playoffs, I think you really have to take a step back and go, is this our guy? And then they already come out and said, I know they already came out and said that Brock Purdy is their guy, no question about it. They have. But but you're gonna have to take a pay cut. You are not gonna get paid $60 million. You are gonna have to get paid in the 40s, maybe at most $50 million, however you want to put it. But not top end money. Not basically being the highest paid quarterback on average in history with alongside Dak Prescott. You cannot have that. So if I was them, what I would think the 49ers would do is let him play out his final year. If you want to sign him to this contract because you're just worried about him playing well, exceeding expectations at maybe in 2025, and just trying to get a deal done before the contract, regardless, just gets any more expensive, not because of just Brock Purdy, but what other quarterbacks get outside the organization. I get it, but I think the smarter route is for all of us is to let him play out his final year and see what he does, because he's not going to get that market. He's not going to get that value outside the organization. No one else paying him $60 million. I'm sorry, even if you're the biggest Brock Purdy fan, you cannot justify $60 million for him. So if he hits the open market, you don't have to worry about that. And if some team throws that money at them, then good luck, Brock Purdy. Congratulations, you got your money. But for that team, they're just complete idiots. It's like, what are you doing at that point if you give them that money? So you don't have to worry about Brock Purdy going out there and getting that money. If it comes down to that, where he wants to walk and get that, you do have the franchise tag, which I don't know where it's at right now for a 1-year deal. It is still relatively high up there, not $60 million essentially, but I think it's in the 50 millions, I think, or at least just under there. But that's probably what's going to come down to, is just let him play his final year. You might have to franchise tag him for a season and then have the talks to get a long-term deal done. But do not pay this guy $60 million this offseason. It's not going to work out for both sides. It's not going to work out for the future for the 49ers and what they want to do long-term. And it's not going to work out well for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's had a great start to his career, no question about that, but we also have to look at the situation and the people that are around him and the pieces around him. We cannot just ignore the all-star cast that he's had. I'm sorry, we can't. Even if you are a huge Brock Purdy fan, you cannot deny the great pieces he's had around him. That is fact. Not disrespecting Brock Purdy, but we also have to acknowledge the supporting cast he's had. And if you pay him that money, say bye-bye to that cast, because you're not going to get that. You're going to get probably one great player around them, and everyone else you're going to have to plug and play and just hope that you hit on someone on a rookie deal. So we're going to see what happens, the contracts moving forward this offseason. I don't think they're going to get done. I'd be shocked if they did. I would presume that we would see this maybe in 2026 at the end of the upcoming season and see what they do from there.